Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support. Let's get into it. So I went and saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse this weekend, and let me tell you, it is incredible. It's a truly incredible display of filmmaking. I loved it. It was immaculate. It was so stinking good. And I'm gonna give you all my full thoughts in the video, but make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe so you never miss out on any of the fun. I am issuing a spoiler alert, so if you haven't seen it yet and don't want to be spoiled, make sure to just save this video and come back and watch it later whenever you do. But with all that being said, let's get into it. Oh, where to even start with this movie? Okay, I think the first thing I want to talk about is this movie. I think is truly transcending the first Into the Spider Verse and Across the Spider Verse. I think these two movies are truly transcending what it means to be an animated movie. They are pushing the boundaries and setting new heights to what the medium and the genre can do, and like what you can do with an animated story. I personally think you animation is just such a powerful medium because there's no limitations. It's full creativity. There's no limits to what you can do. Nothing looks cheesy, nothing looks bad because in animation it looks fine. It looks better. Like you can't do everything in live action just because of the way like you can't make it look how you exactly how you want it to as much as you can in animation. And the animation, I mean, the fact that like they're able to like melt the backgrounds and like change the colors based off of the characters' emotions, ingenious. Um and it just every single shot is one of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen in filmmaking. It truly is just stunning, such detailed animated work. That's why it took this long to make it. That's why they had to take 5 years in between because it's so painstakingly tedious in what they do, and it's beautiful. And I legitimately cannot think of a better animated movie. And this is probably arguably the most beautiful film I've ever seen. Truly, from a pure visual standpoint, um, absolutely incredible, absolutely beautiful, and stunning to look at. Which is to be expected because of how beautiful the first movie looks. But this movie takes that animation style and that animation level to the next tier. I mean, this is an upgrade, and that's impossible. That's some of the Into the Spider Verse is probably one of the most best animated movies of all time, one of the most well animated movies of all time. And this movie just takes it up another notch, another level, and that's insane to me. That's incredible. How do you do that? How do you possibly pull that off? Incredible, absolutely beautiful. Okay, one thing I want to address that I don't think people, okay, if you're going to watch this movie, I need you to go into it with the context that this is part one of a part two movie. And it's not like part one and part two, like Infinity War and Endgame, where it's like part one and part two, like Mockingjay part one and part two. The Deathly Hallows part one and part two. So this is everything's. So you may don't leave the theater being unsatisfied or frustrated because what you saw is unresolved, or there's still a lot of tension, or they didn't completely solve every issue. Because that's not what this movie's designed to do. It's just supposed to be the trampoline so that we can land on part two next March. It wasn't marketed that way, definitely, but just make sure you keep that in mind. Because well, I was watching it, I had forgotten that, so when it ended and what was going on, I was like, what is going on? I was like, man, they gotta wrap this up. And then it just ends on the cliffhanger that it ends on. And I'm like, what? But then I remember there's a part one, and like, oh, then it was all really cool. And I was like, oh, dang, everything I just watched was immaculate and insane. But I had to remind myself of that first. But I think what I'm surprised that this movie did, and I'm really glad that it did, was how much time we got to spend with Gwen. Um, I mean, dear God, what a horrifying, what a horrific backstory she has. Like Peter turns himself into a lizard, and then she accidentally kills him. What? Ouch. And then her dad is obsessed with hunting the Spider Woman, and then rejects her basically initially whenever she reveals himself to her, reveals herself to him. Heartbreaking, heartbreaking stuff. Um, and I think Gwen's kind of acceptance of kind of like finding her band, as the movie puts it, is just really beautiful. It's really beautiful. Um, and I love how much time we get to spend with her. She really gets to shine and develop in this movie a lot, even though she fumbles and is being deceitful and deceptive with Miles. I and they leave on a lot of tension to be resolved in this next movie, um, which I have no doubt that they will resolve. But I loved all this time we got to spend with Gwen. I will get the Miles, but I really want to hammer in on all of the other Spider people first. Spider-Man 2029 delivered. Okay, so I first met or was introduced to Spider-Man 2029 in Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, and he's my favorite new character for that game. I mean, he is so freaking cool. And Oscar Isaac gives a great performance. Kind of like a multi-layered, multifaceted character who I think low key is like the secondary antagonist in this movie. Like I would say obviously Spot is the main villain, but I would have to say that Spider-Man 2029 is probably the secondary antagonist in this movie. He's definitely not helpful. He's in the way of the main plot. He antagonizes the hell out of Miles. I mean, that choke slam, oh, that looked like that was just unnecessary. Um and like every other spider person, he's got this tragic backstory, like he goes to this new universe that um he loses his family, then he goes to a universe where he has that, and that Miguel O'Hara is dead in that one. But then it's Peter B's universe that collapses, and now Peter B now lives in Miles. Actually, I don't know if that's true, but like he collapses Peter B's universe. Oh my god. What a twist. What a crazy twist, and what a crazy good idea to really hammer in why Spider-Man 2029 is so committed to protecting the integrity of the multiverse, and why he's so antagonistic towards Miles, who is the original anomaly and who is the reason all this has started. Like that Spider-Man wasn't from there, or that the spider that bit Miles wasn't from there, so then that universe doesn't have um a Spider-Man. And then if Miles would have never got bitten, Peter from Miles' universe would have survived, and then they would have stopped the collider properly, and then Spot would have never been made, so then they wouldn't have these like messed up like multiverse on the line. I mean, that's such an incredible domino effect. Incredible. It's so creative. This entire movie is just so creative, and it's so smart in the way that it keeps you engaged, and it keeps you. There's so many twists and turns, which we'll get to more. But I love Spider-Man 2029. Jessica Drew was really cool. Um, the Indian Spider-Man was really cool as well. Peter being a small role was really good as well. Mayday's really cute, so that was really cool. But the newest Spider Person that's just so cool. Absolutely, probably the best side character in the movie is Hobie, Spider Punk. I loved all the digs and the like the instigating that he was doing. I thought that he was supposed to initially. I thought he was gonna be um, kind of like a rival to Miles for Gwen's affection. There was gonna be like a little love triangle, but he ends up being the most supportive person in the movie for Miles. Like honestly, no question about it, because like Gwen and Peter B, like they kind of turn on him a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot. Um, but Hobie is there the entire time, and honestly is supportive of Miles, so supportive of Miles. Um, which I think is really, really funny that he's the one that ended up being the most supportive of him. So I loved Hobie. I loved Hobie. He was so cool and so funny, but really right about a lot of things. Um, and then I think maybe perhaps this movie's best credit is how they're able to turn the Spot, who's a joke villain, you know, into a multiverse level threat. He can threaten the fabric of the universe. I mean, that's so smart. And for him to be like, for him to get kind of like treated as a joke, because that's what I'm sure that's what everybody did when it was like, oh, Spot's gonna be the main villain, blah 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 blah. That's a joke. He ain't no joke. He is a threat, a super serious threat. And I think it's amazing how this movie turned him into that and did it so well. And an understandable motivation. It's definitely one we've seen before. You took everything from me, somebody took everything from you. We've seen it before, but it's still very well done, and the threat level and the stakes that are there are, whew, they are through the roof. They are through the roof. But the star of the show, of course, naturally, is Miles freaking Morales. I love how media has starting to frame Miles as this different kind of Spider-Man. A Spider-Man that's driven by something different than his grief and his guilt. You know, while still enduring the hardships that and or while still enduring the hardships and balancing the responsibilities that comes with being Spider-Man. I think Miles is such a unique take on the character. Um, he simply, all the things we love about Spider-Man, determination, um, selflessness, um, undying commitment to others, loyalty. Miles exhibits all of those, but puts it in a package that's different than your typical Spider person story. He's got two loving parents. He did lose his uncle, but Miles is just a really good person, and he's driven by his need to do good, not because of a loss that he endured, but just because he's a good person, a really, really all-star, excellent person. Um, and so I just think the way that they are able to depict Miles in these movies, and I think they do a really good job of it in the PS4 Spider and the PS4 Miles game too. I think it's really truly incredible. I think Miles Morales is turning himself into a truly incredible character right in front of our eyes. I think he's about to be right up there with Peter Parker as the definitive Spider-Man. Um, Now of course Peter's got like a really long jump on him, like as far as like longevity, but I think we're seeing Miles enter that that stratosphere, you know, with Peter. And I think that this movie is just only adding to it. I absolutely love and adore every second that Miles is on screen in this movie. I mean, I think we've seen it, but his need to just balance everything and wanting to tell his parents and all that, but he just can't. I just think that's such a true core Spider-Man story. I just don't think that you can get a better characterization than this. This is beautiful, just adaptation of the material, and I think Miles is just wonderful and great, and I love him. As far as like, so I think Miles is like an absolute star. I mean, I think he's truly entering the next level of stratosphere as fictional characters go. I really do mean that in my heart. Um, what I thought was interesting, and then the fact that Miles refuses to let these canon events define him. You know, um, he's not just gonna lay down. He's gonna get up. That's so Spider-Man coded. I think the canon events was an interesting idea. I think it really works in like kind of this canon, no pun intended. And so that was a really interesting concept, but Miles won't let that define him. He won't let him do it, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I just loved also. I just loved all the cameos we got. Oh, let me go back. And then the twist where Miles thinks he goes home, but then it sends him to Dimension 42 or Earth 42 or whatever you want to call it, because that's what his DNA is coded with that spider. And okay, granted, as soon as he landed in that world and realized he was in the one without Spider-Man, I immediately knew. I was like, oh, he's gonna be Prowler. Immediately knew it. So that twist didn't like impact me as much as I thought it was going to, but it was still really freaking cool. And especially because of the way like you can tell that Miles is really different because like for example, the way he pronounced his name was much what had a much heavier like Spanish accent. And that's kind of a consequence of his dad being dead. And so, his mom who is Puerto Rican, and so like the way he pronounced it was much more Hispanic. And I thought that was really, really, really cool. Just a differentiation they were able to do, and I'm intrigued to see where they go with that moving forward. Um, but all of the cameos, I mean, we got Insomniac Spider-Man, we got Lego Spider-Man, we got Spectacular Spider-Man, we got Donald Glover live action Prowler. There was clips from Toby's and Andrew's movies. I didn't see anything from the Tom Holland movies, but just Web Slinger and Ben freaking Riley, the paper bag Fantastic Four Spider Man. Um, all the different cameos were just so freaking cool. I think almost every single Spider Man that is like a canon form of him was in this movie. I swear to God, at least a glimpse of them was in this movie. Um, so I just think that this movie is so creative, and you know what? This movie is just damn cool. That a point blank, you cannot deny that this movie is just really, really freaking cool, and it's beautiful, and it's fun, and it's so good. This right here is peak filmmaking. So overall, this movie builds off of everything that made the first movie so great, with more action, higher stakes, and even more spider people. This film never forgets to stick to its core story and themes. With astonishing animation and wondrous creativity, my most anticipated film of the year did not disappoint. Rating 10 out of 10. Now I'm doing my own thing. Oh, that's such a bar. Such a freaking bar. But please go see the movie for yourself. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. But thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support. Make sure you guys check out the link content on above. And you guys have a great day. Thanks.